Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome from Sydney, Australia, whether you're here in Australia on the East Coast or anywhere else, or if you're obviously listening to the recording. My name's Trevor Doornbos. I'm the Mission Control Evangelist and Specialist for Asia Pacific, US and US West. I come from a background of consulting, engagement management, sales and pre-sales. So I've pretty much done everything from collecting timesheets, creating timesheets and logging time through to managing large-scale projects. So hopefully any questions we get on the chat windows, there is a chat available. You can put a chat question in there and we'll try and get to it as we go, or certainly at the end. So feel free to lodge any questions there. Quick background on Mission Control and Aprika Business Solutions. The company Aprika Business Solutions started in 2010 as a Salesforce systems integrator. Our co-founders Colin and Chris created Mission Control as custom objects originally in their Salesforce org, and in 2012 that was released as an app on the Salesforce App Exchange. So in the last period of time, the last 9 to 10 years, it's come a long way. So running very lean as a company through to our growth, we're expecting probably 20 people by the end of this year. We've got customers all over the world and 9,000 plus users, soon to click over 10,000 we expect. Mission Control is used by companies in all different industries. We've got media and marketing companies, pure consulting companies, software companies, either for software development for their own use or for implementations, right through to construction. Last year, we listed on G2, previously known as G2 Crowd, and asked all our customers to leave reviews for us there. And we were quite surprised, very pleasantly, albeit, that we got a lot of positive reviews. So we've got a lot of raving fans as class customers. And certainly a lot of that feedback's collated automatically by G2 based on reviews. And we had to do a double take because our Net Promoter Score, or NPS, if you're familiar with it, came out at 83. So that's the amount of people who say good things, say bad things, or say something very, neither way. Certainly, I've been in the software industry a long time, and it's very unusual to get that sort of response. A lot of that's because we ourselves are very responsive. So you can raise support tickets at any time while you're evaluating. Even before you become a client, we're available on live chat most of the time. I've just switched mine off for this session, so you won't find me there on our live chat, but it's real people. We use photo, that's real people on there. Why Mission Control? Well, it's built natively on Salesforce. Yeah, it started out as our own internal solution and then built out, and it's been built out to, across, as I said, many, many industries. And when you download Mission Control, it's in your Salesforce org, so your database, as you may call it. It's leveraging all the security, it's leveraging all the things that Salesforce gives you. So you're logging in once and leveraging all the security and capability that you get having Salesforce. So if you want to add custom fields, update your page layouts, create your own reports, add your own rules, workflows, process builders, all of that is possible. Benefits, certainly. If you're familiar with using Salesforce reports and dashboards, we just add our metrics in there. You can use those to report. We can obviously leverage the Salesforce One mobile app. And people say, how do you integrate with Salesforce? Well, our objects are in Salesforce with the Salesforce objects. And it literally takes 20, maybe 40 minutes to download from App Exchange into your org and get it ready and set up following the quick start guide. I personally set an org up the other day, and the starting point, full functionality of the product, took about 30 minutes. And if you're using Salesforce, then it's going to be familiar. So that's all important. If you're using Salesforce, obviously we're built on Salesforce. We'll support pretty much from everything from communities, platform license, Lightning Platform Starter, and up. What's in Mission Control? I call it PSA, or Professional Services Automation. Some people like the term project management. Why do I call it Professional Services Automation? Well, because it covers all the aspects of what you need from a PSA tool. We cover all the resource management, capturing your cost rates, your charge rates, having skill sets, being able to assign people, having wizards for resource assignment, capturing utilization, full holiday management, creating the project. I'm going to be showing you today about creating the project from an opportunity. So nice and straightforward. You can create a project from any of the core Salesforce objects and even custom objects. When I was a project manager, engagement manager, using things such as Microsoft Project, I hardly ever created a project from scratch. I'd copy from one I'd done before. You can create templates. You can build out from other projects, build on the go, clone, all those sorts of things you expect. And what methodology do we use in mission control? Do we support Prince 2? Do you support Agile? Do you support Waterfall? It's extremely flexible. So whether you're doing a delivery waterfall style project, you're doing agile sprints, we support all that as well, with all the key things you'd expect in there, right down to dependencies, baseline tracking, and dependencies with critical path management. Time tracking, if that's important, probably one of the strong points of any PSA solution. And I'll be showing you some of the 7 out-of-the-box places you can log time, because why go out of the screen you like working in just to log time? So you can do standalone or other way as well. Full financial management. So what style of billing are you doing for this project? Is it time and materials, fixed fee? Is it retainer? And how are we going to capture the costs, the time, the expenses, any purchase orders, all those sorts of things? And what sort of tax rates will we apply when we actually generate our invoice? Program management, we won't really be covering today. We'll cover some aspects and some of the tools. We use Mission Control to develop the release cycle for Mission Control. So it actually supports full program management, from gathering your requirements, building out the user stories, putting those into backlog, priority backlog, and managing that through the releases, through the sprints. From a collaboration perspective, we're built on Salesforce. Obviously, we're going to be leveraging Chatter. I'll be covering off a couple of things like the status report, and then a lot of the productivity tools as we go through. So the flow I'm going to run through today is I'm going to start with some dashboards. I'll start on the console, actually. I'm going to run through a couple of dashboards. I'll show you our standalone Gantt chart. Then I create a project from an opportunity using the standard method. There's multiple ways, of course, you can create a project. I'll show you some of the ways that an end consultant may use Mission Control, and then including the timesheet and then the resource scheduler. And then we'll deep dive into a project. As I was saying, if you've got any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat. So let me just reshare my screen out to, sorry. And any questions, please raise it in the chat. I may not see if you raise your hand. I think someone might have raised their hand before. And let me just share this. Okay, and just confirming here that I'm now sharing my Mission Control screen. A little bit of admin in the background here. Make sure I've got the Q&A open as well. Okay, so I've got a number of tabs open on my Mission Control instance here, and my org, as of course we like to call it. If you're familiar with Salesforce, then this should look very familiar as well. There's a number of apps you can obviously have in Salesforce. If I look at the navigator at the top left, you can have Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud, and we're actually in the Mission Control app. I've configured my view the way I like to use it. So you can configure that the way that any end user may prefer to use it, showing, hiding, whatever fields they need to see or you don't want them to see or use. I like starting in the console. When you first get started with Mission Control, there's a whole lot of wizards that help you get things done. So creating a project from scratch, cloning previous projects, creating your roles, the people that are actually using it, grouping those into teams, adding skill sets into the skill matrix, and setting up holiday management, that side of things. From a progress perspective, I'll be showing you the whiteboard. I'll go through the ActionPad, touch on the risk log, issue log, login timesheet, then management pad. Maybe not everyone gets access to this, where I can then deep dive into one of my projects, have a look at all my projects in here, and That's that program management I was showing you, where program planner, storyboard, and we'll be covering the Gantt chart and the scheduler. So if I start off at where the day may start for, let's say, an executive, someone wants to get some information around what's happening in their organization. So they create a Salesforce dashboard, group it by number of reports. I've got a few dashboards here, and yeah, I'm going to just go with my standard mission control one. So straight away, I can see what's happening across my services organization, and I might have metrics on how are my projects performing. Well, I can see stuff over budget. Let's drill straight into that over budget report. And by whatever metrics I choose to build my report, I can then get a visibility of those projects. There's a question for us to adopt their app. Would it be a learning center? Yes, we actually have online training, and I'm happy to share that information on that. The learning portal, I believe you can access it from our website, but I will certainly try and share that right near the end. So while I'm here in the report, I could drill through to the actual project, and we'll cover that off as we go through, realizing we don't have too much time to show the whole solution. Now on the standalone Gantt chart. So we have Gantt chart capability, fully interactive. By default, I usually have Gantt chart under my project. You can put a Gantt chart under the account, opportunity, wherever you like. And for this example, I've used the filter at the top left of the Gantt chart. Say, show me all my projects for my client ACE, and let me see how they're going. I can see straight away my demo project here with a lot of data in ACE Labs Roadshow. If I drill down to that, I can see the project, the milestone, and the action. So like phases and tasks. I've got high priority, so they're colored in red. That's just a priority field on the action. I can see that they're complete, and I'm pretty much ready to start the design UI at this stage. I can drag and drop, and I'll show that in my demo project I create. If I look across at the far left, the columns that I'm showing, I can choose what do I care about seeing. So I've got a little cogwheel there. I can choose any of the standard fields and even my own custom fields. Now I can see here I've got Andrea is the owner of this action, and she's also got 3 contributors. Myself, Kelly, and Colin are also working on that, so we can collaborate and work together. Dependencies, there's about 2 or 3, or at least 3 different places I can create and work on dependencies. I can do drag and drop. I can actually type it in the predecessors column, and actually when I'm creating my project in the create actions, I can do it there as well. I can edit actions, update them, delete them, assuming I've been given access to do that, of course. If I do need to make any changes, say, for example, I needed to push this out because I've got the green lightning bolt set at the top left here on the toolbar, it's auto-scheduled the rest of my project. If I was happy with that, maybe I check the scheduler on these people's availability, then I can commit that and save. Then obviously I can export this view any way I want. There's a lot of other functionality. I can change the scale. I can reduce what I'm actually seeing, expand it all, a lot of capability. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to start from a very standard Salesforce opportunity page, standard page layout, and I'm going to use the standard opportunity method for generating a mission control project. So when you download mission control into your org from Salesforce App Exchange with the quick start guide, first thing to say is in your page layout, add this section for project generation, include these 4 fields, and that gives you the out-of-the-box automation to create projects from a template in the opportunity. And of course, I've got a template I've created for fixed price, milestone billing, and that's sort of set to go. I've got my dollar field, my budget for the project. I've got my start date of today, and all I need to do to get that going, I can edit here and tick this box and generate the project. I can do that at any stage in the opportunity cycle. Maybe I do it when I'm actually doing value proposition, because I might want to update the project, add hours, add tasks, actions, that sort of thing. Or I could use, as I have in this example, the only non-standard part in my demo org is I've got a single process builder that when I click close one, it's going to tick this box under generate project. And then under my related list at the right-hand side, we're going to see that project created. So obviously intrinsically linked, the project's linked to the opportunity. You've got that real-time access. Let's fire up the project. This is a capability demonstration org, so I've got absolutely everything switched off. At the role level, which is the people using the system, you can determine which of these tabs they can see. You could do that using permission sets we ship with the product. And you can also determine what's your preference. My preference whenever I come into the project, I come into the project overview, which is the work breakdown structure of the milestones, the actions, and the checklist. So a milestone, like a phase, the actions, you may call them tasks. And then under the actions, you can have any number of checklist items, which could be subtasks. So I can see straight away, I've got my meeting. I've got a placeholder role. That placeholder role can be used for capturing costs and charge rates. Every role record can have a cost rate and a charge rate. The status is planned, which means it hasn't started. I've got my date. I've got a warning here saying this should have already started. This is today's date. You could have Salesforce notifications to ping people. You might want to let know about that. So I want to get someone allocated to this requirements meeting really quickly. I can go across. I've got 8 hours there. Needs to be delivered. At the right-hand side, excuse me, I've got a number of icons. I can split the action in two. I can work on my checklist items. I could log time. One of the 7 places I can log time out of the box. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find a resource for my meeting. I open that up. It has all the details of that action. I've got my placeholder. I can see there's 8 hours. I could just type in my favorite consultant's name, Andrea, or I could actually say, I want to do a search across teams. So you can be in any number of teams. You could be in the consultant team, the Sydney team. So for this example, I might say they need to be in California and a consultant. Or my example, and I can also have a skills matrix. So show me all the consultants that are good with configuration for the period I'm looking. And you could even go a level deeper and add proficiency levels. Are they 1, beginner? Are they 5, advanced? I've got my standard search here. I can obviously change that to 1 week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, days, weeks, months. So for the next 2 weeks, show me a daily view. And I've got an extra field on my cogwheel saying, only bring me people that are at least 50% available. It's going to bring back a subset of my consulting team, people who can do configuration. And if this was my company, I'd be really concerned. No one's got any work on this week, but things look to be improving next week. So I look at next week, see Andrea's got no availability. And if I open that up, I know 2 of those days is because she's got a holiday booked. So that's good enough. She's available today. That's the 28th. I'm going to drag Andrea to take over that role there. And I might just jump on the project myself. Just to see what I can learn, because she's a great consultant. So I've got my owner and I can have any number of contributors. I could actually, if I wanted to make that billable, that will then spread that work across the contributors. Let's click save. So I had my action, I searched on the resource, I assigned that to Andrea. Andrea's now got something similar to this. She can have an email notification of what she's assigned to. Obviously, when she logs in, or if she's logged in, she'll get one of those typical Salesforce reminders at the top. And you can also send a daily digest. These are all the actions you actually got on your plate for today, anything new that's been assigned, anything pending, waiting on other people, and anything overdue, including any approvals if you're at a manager level. So taking off my project manager hat, if I put on my consultant hat, and let's just hit refresh on that screen and then see what comes in. So I've filtered this to actually show everything from Andrea. If we scroll down, we'll actually see there's that demo project down the bottom. There's a lot of overdue work there, so I'd be concerned. I've got filters all through the system. I can save those filters at any time. I might say, look, let's just show what they're studying this week. So keep it nice and simple, so I don't have to filter through everything. And then we can see there's our demo project requirements. If it's a simple tick and flick, I could just mark that as complete when it's done, nice and simple. The right-hand side, I can see who's allocated. I can see the contributors. If I scroll up a bit, maybe. I could actually, if I've got access to the resource assignment wizard, I can get more resources. I can log time here, one of the 7 places, raise issues. Yeah, and I could open up the checklist manager where there's checklist items and work through those and even add extra ones. So maybe I've got the meeting, I've ticked off things that I knew I had to do, and then other items came up, I can add those on the fly. If I need more detail, anywhere you see a pop-out screen, you can get more detail, and then maybe you can chatter with the rest of the team. So usually leveraging that chatter technology, and then let's we can actually chatter someone like Trevor. I always like talking to myself, and that would pop up there on the right-hand side. What's pretty cool about the ActionPad is, it summarizes what you've got on your plate. Thankfully, there's nothing overdue for this week. I'm a visual person, so maybe if I was doing the consulting, I'd probably work from the Kanban board, the whiteboard. So same data, different view. And that's one of the core differentiators between mission control and a lot of PSA tools is you're not forced to choose which way you're looking at your data. If you want to look at it in the ActionPad, in the Gantt chart, in the overview, Kanban, you can look at the same data in different ways. So when I'm in the whiteboard, if you look under column heading here at the top right, these are all fields on the action. They're pick list items, so you've got out of the box pick lists that are there, and obviously a pick list field in Salesforce, you can modify, change the values if you'd like to. You can even add your own. I've just got this sorted by priority. I can see my actions are color-coded by project. And if I open up one of the cards, I can see the structure. So I've got my project, my milestone, my action, the action identification number. They're all set in stone. Bottom 5 fields, whatever you want them to be. If I go to the top right of the screen, I'll see there's a little cogwheel, and I've got my settings for start date, end date, hour schedule, total checklist items, completion %, plus every item pretty much switched on. And you can change that. That could be any of the standard fields or any custom fields. Certainly for our development team who actually manage the release cycle of mission control, they might have requirements, user stories, issues, those sort of things that they're working on at the time. If I don't want to look at it by priority, perhaps I want to look at it by status. I'm very old school, so planned is like your inbox, in progress is your desktop, on hold is your pending file, and complete is your outbox. So nice and simple. Again, there's those filters. So I'd say let's keep it really simple, and let's just show anything starting this week. And there we go. There's our demo project. I can open and close all the cards at the same time if I'd like to, individually. And I'm just going to drag that to in progress. That's going to kick off a bit of automation. It'll update the project, take the milestone and the action out of the plan to in progress, so the project manager can see Andrea started on it. And I can see there's 8 hours allocated. There's 3 checklist items. We're running late. I can chatter the team here. I could open up chatter. I could raise an issue to the issue manager. Maybe there's things that we need to cover off that are collaborating with the team or even with the client that we need to escalate. And here's that checklist item manager we saw before. So Andrea in the meeting established the key requirements. They agreed to what's going in the build. And then she got back to the office or back home and then documented that. So we can see those 3 checklist items are complete. If we want to log time, again, one of the 7 places, I'm going to say that a lot today. And it's already pre-populated the action. You've got a pick list here if you want to put a time log type. I'm going to log the hours. I could have used the timer, the tracking timer here at the beginning and then complete it and auto-fill the hours. I'm just going to put hours. Any notes you want to add, if you want to do a log time at the checklist item level, or if you've got issues, you can do that too, of course. And I can drag that from the in progress to the complete column, or just do the same thing and change the status and log that time. So that's going to go out of the in progress column. It's going to push it across the complete column, and that's going to kick off a little bit more automation. So let me take off my consultant hat now and put back on my project manager hat. Just going to refresh the screen. And some automation is kicked off in the background. So just with the standard settings and mission control, you can switch these on, switch these off. You'll notice here, if I highlight it, that the milestone's complete, because one of the standard settings is when all the actions are complete under a milestone, auto-complete the milestone as well. You can unset that if you need to. All the hours from the actions roll up to the milestone level. We set a budget of $2,000. This is a fixed price billing project. So we're saying at completion of the milestone, generate a billing event, and we can invoice from that. So as a project manager, maybe that's all you need to do. Maybe you don't need to do anything else. It could be automation, finance people, you might send them a notification. If I dive under the covers a little, I'm going to have a look at that billing event. So this is the billing event that was kicked off. It's generated an invoice. It's based on the completion of the requirements milestone. Now, if I dig into this, the invoice itself may not have been created yet. That takes a few minutes to run through the cycle. When it does, there'll be a PDF URL, so you can download the PDF and email it, or you can just share the URL link. And we provide a template, so you could actually use that format. Or you could do the billing event item, do an extract, so extract the data out of Mission Control and then export it, import it into your finance system, or use one of the App Exchange integration apps into your finance system. So I've got my billing event. You could actually even put it to the right ledger code, $2,000 plus we applied GST to that, so $2,200. So the finance person, controller or otherwise, when that's done, might come in and go, okay, requirements was paid. Date paid was the same as the invoice, which is pretty good. Let's say they're paid by direct deposit and they reference code. And going, do I have to do this every time? No, you could do this manually, finance people or whoever's controlling this, or you could build in some automation. That's the beauty of Salesforce. The reason I want to do this, and let me just hit refresh, just see if my invoice is populated yet. There we go. So here's like a standard template we've set up for our invoice. You can see the tax rate and all the financials around the project, billing event. And then we've got a example of the invoice. Now, why I found this really useful as a project manager is when the client called me up and made a query on the invoice, I've got a copy right here in the system. I don't have to bother the finance people to dig an invoice out. I don't need to have access into the finance system. I've got all that information at my fingertips. The other side of it is, if I didn't do any of that, I could just keep checking the billing, see that, yep, we generate an invoice and actually it's been paid. Fantastic. Part of our agreement with the client is when they pay each milestone, we'll start the next piece of work. I get onto the blower to Edwina at the customer, say, hey, Edwina, we're ready to start with the next milestone. We've obviously completed the requirements and we'd like to start the implementation, just checking that Monday is still good for you. Edwina lets you know that won't work because they've had some changes. They'd like to push it out. I've got auto schedule set on my project, little green lightning bolt on the toolbar. And then I might just want to make some adjustments. So I can sort of push that out. I've still got placeholder roles. I haven't assigned anyone to these. Once I'm happy with that, I can commit that save. So fully interactive. I keep talking about the 7 places you can log time. Here's another one down here. I could log time here, a little time tracker here. You might have noticed a pop-out menu at the side, so I can actually log time. You decide what you see on here. So obviously everything's tracked on the feed, on the timeline, any events or anything that's happening, so you can see what's actually happening with your project. You may have noticed the persistent menu at the bottom as well, so I could actually pop that up to log time. Okay, moving on. So we've covered that. What about resource management? So in the resource scheduler, this is where you can see, well, what's happening with my team? How overburdened are they? And I've got a few here. I filtered again. There's one of those cool filters. And I'm looking at the actions view. Let's go up to the top level of projects view. Say, okay, I can see all the work allocated. Andrea works a 40-hour week. And straight away, I can see she's way over allocated. She's got 144 hours available in the view we're looking at, and she's working more. She's actually 153%. So I might go, okay, well, let's have a look down a bit deeper at the action where the work's assigned. And I see the problem. It looks like she's actually got time off here, and there's a lot of work around that. If I go down to the hours, and I like to call this the heat map, I get a pretty good view. It's like, well, 24 hours in one day, that's not going to work. And I know she's away for a long weekend. She was hoping to get away early. And then when she comes back, it's looking pretty bad. So pretty quickly, I could add some filters, find people to do the right job and say, look, what I might do, I'm going to put this back to my placeholder role, see what impact that makes. Is that going to improve things a bit? Okay, it's coming down. maybe I can move a few things around. So it gives you the flexibility to start working on things, move things around, maybe reduce that workload, and talk to the project managers and say, hey, can we actually get someone else on it? What are you really looking for? And do those searches. Time for a deep dive. Oh, sorry. And another good view from the scheduler. There's a lot more functionality that we can cover off in this session. This is showing us the next few days, but what about the weeks and months ahead? So what's our capacity to deliver and how busy are we looking? And we look, okay, pretty much there's some, there's a demo account, of course, but there's not a lot of work in March or April. So, or I've got a lot of work coming up. Do I have the capacity to deliver? So that's kind of important. Time to go into a deep dive. And here's one that we baked earlier, and Mission Control, we actually eat our own cooking. I use Mission Control every day. I've got an example here of a project that's got everything switched on. You may have noticed that there's a lot of tabs across the top. So first of all, your profit and loss, your margins, your P&L in the project insights, because you're allocating and logging the hours, and because you've got the time dates set in there. On a weekly basis, we track and measure that. And then that gives you your cost performance index. So based on the hours you scheduled, did you use more or less than that? If you use more, then that's going to go into the red. So 1 as per our schedule. 1 means our schedule is exactly where we scheduled it to be. So that's good. We're on track there. But it looks like we've used more hours than we expected by this time. So our CPI, our cost performance, has actually worked down. Our schedule performance looks great. So very quickly, I can see at a level, okay, I need to track this before I even get to my invoicing, my end of month. I already can see there's an impact. I can see my billable dollars, what's left, same with my hours, see my P&L, and see the status of my invoices. This was a retainer-based example, invoiced up front, and then we draw down. And when we saw we were about to run out, we generated another invoice. For our construction customers, full budget capability, it came in our first release last year. So you might want to do full P&L budgets at each level and then track any POs, any expenses against those milestones, and be able to do a full profit and loss against that, variances, all the typical things you'd expect. The ActionPad I showed you, that's available under every project. So I can see that relating specifically to the project. Obviously, we can look at time logs, expense logs, the time logs. You can track, how are we going? Ideal hours is across here, being a demo project. We can track, are we burning less or more hours? And also how are we going from what's left? Expenses, if you set an expense budget and you're capturing that, then you can track that as well. Maybe you set 9,000 and you can see, okay, what's actually left. Risks and issues. So risks, capturing anything that may impact the project, sharing that with the team. You see there's one of those pop-out menus at the side for the risk detail. And obviously you can chatter with the team, and you might have certain mitigation things, countermeasures. What do I do if this risk realizes? And maybe when it does get realized, I can then promote that risk to an issue. The issues might be, risks may be something you share internally with the team. Issues might be something you share with your customer. Again, you can collaborate on that. Maybe if you're using Salesforce community and you're giving them a license to access that as well. Whiteboard, of course, we showed that there. That's the whiteboard for the project. Again, you can do the full functions at the project level. The Gantt chart, we saw this full revenue recognition built into the solution. So you can track, okay, how are we going to where we should be? When are we getting the earned value from the work being delivered? Scheduler, much as I showed you on the other screen. New feature from our September release is project retrospectives. And this has been really important for a lot of our consulting customers, because they say, look, every time we finish a milestone or a project, we like to have a review meeting and say, what did we do well? What could we do better? And categorize those, that every time we're going through that in the future, we know things that would actually save us work and save us grief and down the track. As you'd expect with any PSA solution, you need to have an out-of-the-box status report. So you can schedule that to run weekly. And like I have here, just run that ad hoc. You choose what goes onto the report. Maybe just send the project summary, maybe include the project overview, even a snapshot of the Gantt chart, or things right down. You might even share all the issues and risks and all that side of things. There's also from one of our, I think it was our September release, is the customer read-only page. So you could actually share, sorry, question from Bailey. Can you create sub-actions or dependencies as actions instead of a scheduling feature? Yes, you absolutely can. You can have dependencies between actions. You can have notifications on dependent actions. Absolutely no problem at all. Just checking a couple of other questions. Sorry, and this is the customer read-only page. You could share this with your customers, so you can give them one or two or all of the project. If I look at it from the Gantt chart view, it'll take about 5 seconds to populate. Let me hit refresh. And on the Gantt chart view, it gives you a fully interactive but read-only view. So you can choose, give them access to see where you're up to, very similar to that, but you can't actually change it. And again, you choose how they're actually going to view that. Maybe sharing out things like the risks and the issues and any risk detail, again, on a read-only basis. Now we're running short on time. The other one is timesheets. So for example, let's just put my own in here. One day I'll learn to type my own name. And any work I've had allocated, okay, I actually logged the time on that, so allocated to me. We can see the 8 hours. If you needed to add more, this is work allocated. I might say, okay, I've been asked to do some additional work, so add this to my project. Maybe I did that after hours. Click on here, and then I can do that pop-up to get that information, add notes, anything I want to. If you're on a project where you're actually doing the same thing each week for a large client, you just clone last week's. You can save the suggested hours, which is on the schedule. Any of these columns can be shown or hidden. And there's a lot of other features. If you're integrated with Outlook or Google, I don't have a great example here, into Salesforce, you can leverage that and actually log time from there. There's built-in approvals as well. Last, before I wrap up, is the PMO Dashboard. So if you're a project management office, we talked about cost performance and schedule performance. I want to see that across multiple projects, and I want to see it right down to the action level. So I can see, how are my actions going? How am I tracking from a financial basis and a schedule basis, right down at where I'm allocating the work? I don't have to wait till that end of month. Is it possible to store from Vince? Is it possible to store project-related documents, client elements, contribute invoices within Mission Control? Absolutely. You could use related lists, any of those. You could add, it's Salesforce, so you can add those items in here. So say I've got a related list. You could update the page layout. So under the detail, there's diving straight deep under the covers. You can go into the project detail, add your own fields, hide fields you don't need. Again, this is just a standard Salesforce page layout capability. I hope that answers the question. PMO Dashboard, where that's also useful is, well, that's a great figure, but how does that compare to where we were about a month ago? Am I going backwards or forwards? So I can see I'm going slightly backwards or forwards there, 88 to 83. So I'm probably improving. So going backwards on my cost, slightly going forwards on my schedule, and then I can drill down to certain levels. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today. If I just go back and present that, probably what I was going to cover now is any Q&A. So let me just reshare this other screen. What are the standout features? Oh, there's too many to mention, Yada, too many. I think Asana is a great solution, where it does perhaps wouldn't say fall down, as one of the key strengths of Mission Control. It's inside Salesforce. So you're connecting not just your task management through the projects, you're connecting the financials, you're connecting the time tracking, all those things are all in one place. And can you update, from Bailey, can you update the status on an action item? Absolutely, absolutely. Let's see if I get this right. So let's go back to my demo project. So if I deep dive, let's go into one that's not been completed. So implementation plan, there's a lot of detail in here. I've got everything switched on. I've probably got a status field here. Here we go. Status is planned. That's our standard field, which includes some automation. But you might have categories. You might have something else in there. You might have your other ways that outside what we call a project status, and that's the power of leveraging Salesforce and being able to use custom fields and everything like that. From satisfaction feedback, if you go to Salesforce App Exchange and look at the reviews, go to G2 and look at the reviews. We're kind of blown away about how happy our customers are. I was speaking to a client on Tuesday morning, client that signed up with us a year ago. They're a software company. They said, I wish our support was as responsive as yours. So I raised a support ticket, probably about 4 or 5 in the last year, and response has been phenomenal. We found a couple of bugs and we had patch releases to resolve those in 1 or 2 weeks. So that's how we operate. We like to be extremely responsive to all requests. And we don't get a lot of support tickets, so I guess that makes it a little bit easy because it's a very robust solution. On our website, you can go to either G2 and have a look at Scott from ListTrack, his reviews. He evaluated 16 project management solutions before selecting Mission Control. We had a lot of happy customers, and we're putting more case studies and video testimonials up all the time. Don't take our word for it, though. You can go to App Exchange right now. You can download Mission Control, log in with your credentials, you can click on Get It Now, and you can download that into your sandbox org for a free 14-day trial. And there's even in the control pad, you can create sample data just by the click of a button. Ping me an email if you get stuck, you need any help. Comes by default with a 14-day trial. And literally, you follow the quick start guide on App Exchange, and it takes 30 to 40 minutes. That includes the 10 minutes or so for Salesforce to load it into your org. Any inquiries, you can inquiries at aprika.com, support at aprika.com for support, and also that support page. My name's Trevor Doornbos. That's my email there, trevor.doornbos@aprika.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. Happy to stay on if anyone's got any questions. Otherwise, I'm happy to share this recording with you via James, our marketing director. We'll make sure that happens in the next day or two. And I'd like to thank you very, very much for your time. I'll stay on for a couple of minutes if anyone's got any more questions. I think otherwise I will have a lovely day. Thank you, Yada. It is Friday here after all, and it's sunny, which is especially good. Okay, well, thank you very much. You will receive an email with the recording, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email me and contact us. Thank you so much for your time.